What's going on? Matt Moore here, interviewing Noel Watry, talking about his book, The Game of Life in Poker, The Lessons I Learned on and Off the Felt. Talking about Chapter 2. Did we just become best friends? You want to jump into this one, Noel?
Sure. What I do want to touch on, though, basically, as the title alludes, what I wanted to do actually first was just touch on going back to the beginning and how me and you became friends. I thought because I knew you were going to be in the book a lot, people needed to know who you were, what our friendship was based on, how far back we went. So I touched on that fateful day of playing Ninja Turtles. You dropped my guy, you broke his legs. There go Leonardo's arms, Raphael's, whatever. And then you hand him back and say, "Hey, I got your guy for you." Gee, thanks. I mean, it's like akin to pushing me off a cliff and then grabbing me quick and then saying, "Oh, I saved you."
Hey, yeah. You're welcome.
Or sticking a robot dog on a girl and then saving her and say, "Hey, I saved you from this dog." What kind of moves are these?
Hey, I'm going to write this down. Just in
Anyway,
case.
somehow it worked, and we hung out from that moment on. And I just remember being
Oh my
kids.
gosh, yeah.
Um,
I'm still that
so
clumsy for the record. For people watching this, I'm still that way. I,
very, very true. He is the ultimate
yeah,
Butterfingers.
it's a
I'm,
shame.
I'm surprised you haven't dropped your hand playing poker more than enough and expose your hand.
Oh.
Hey, the hand's still going on, buddy.
Hey, excuse me, sir.
Um, but anyway, I just wanted to touch on that just so people understood that we had been friends for a long time and that as we go along throughout the book and the tournaments we play and the things we go through, it's because you were my guy from day one. So just wanted to touch on that.
No, that's great. And it's awesome. It was great to see it and just have all those memories of us. Because we learn together, man, and that's a different experience to grow together with something like that. And we would see it with some of the World Series of Poker. We'd watch that, and you'd watch these group of guys come up and learn together and better themselves through
Yeah,
critiquing each other. And we have advice that we give each other, and catchphrases or sayings is more appropriate. We have sayings for different things, and
oh man,
they work and they stick. It's like they stick in the brain, and it's like, oh, that's right. We joked about that, or okay, or little things that
right.
help each other grow and go beyond people that are just maybe casual and not taking it so seriously. Where we are competitive, feel like we've always been competitive, and you touch on some
Big
of
time.
that in this, of just like our childhood or that we've been that way. And poker is a great way to be competitive, as you mentioned in the first chapter, where about a Super Bowl or a championship and being the last man standing. That's very definitive. Each tournament, each sit and go, one person has all the chips, and
Right.
it's so rewarding to, it feels like so much like psychological, intellectual. It's like, okay, I bluffed these guys, I outplayed these guys, I got lucky. The rush of just being lucky,
Yeah,
and
all of it.
that I feel like I'm going on and on, but all these different things are, I think, what set that solid foundation for us of why you've always stuck with poker, but whatever pulls me back in and to love to write a forward for you like this and touch on all these different things. Now in this chapter 2, you mentioned a little bit about the material world, and just from what I know of you is that you're almost breaking free from that a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair to say. I mentioned how, I mean, I'm sure plenty of other people can relate. Back then, we'd buy DVDs, we'd buy video games, we bought CDs. Now, some
Yeah.
people are like, what? You used to have CDs? Like, yeah, that was
Right.
the only way to listen to music.
Yeah,
But
you
I would
bought them
just
for
buy
one song. Yeah,
stuff and stuff and then it didn't mean anything to me. I'd go home. I mean, the CDs certainly I got my play out of them,
mm-hmm.
but maybe a video game or a movie that I'd watch once and then be like, okay, now the next week something new is out. Then that just sits by the wayside, and it just became too much stuff, and it was just putting so much money into it, and ultimately I didn't care. Like, I mean, eventually I ended up getting rid of it all, and now I'm kind of becoming that way that things in life don't really matter, like material things don't. So
Right. More about the moment, the memories, especially from when I see you
definitely,
post on your socials and stuff, which, we'll make sure we get people linked to as they watch this. But yeah, I think that's a valuable lesson. I think that's great,
Sure.
and that's what I really like about this book. It isn't just a poker book, right? What you're saying, the lessons I learned on and off the felt, the game of life and poker, and those parallels. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I just want to say that I do put lessons that I've learned at the end of each chapter. I know chapter 1 we didn't touch on what the lesson I learned was, or in chapter 2 yet, but for those listening or watching, there are lessons that I do mention for each chapter that I learned throughout that moment in life. But also, I just want to say real quick before I forget, when you touch on us being competitive since day one,
Mm-hmm.
since Ninja Turtles we play and video games we played, try to
Right.
beat each other.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of good sports games, Madden, NBA Live,
Totally.
a lot of back and forth ones.
Sure.
And then poker became no different. We talked about hands, we learned, we grew,
Yeah.
and there were times we'd play tournaments and be at each other's table, but I still wanted to beat you. Like my
Yeah.
dream goal was always like, how can it be me and Matt in the final two every tournament? Like
Yeah.
that's like what I always wished every tournament would go
Yeah.
like.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But then afterward, if I got knocked out or you got knocked out, like we were right there cheering each other on, and I'm like, man, take this down, or you're like, oh, you got this, just stuff like that. We competed, but
Yeah.
then as soon as it was time for the other person, I mean, we just cheered our asses off.
That's a great point, and that really I probably just had this big smile on my face because man, I remember those moments of just those 45-person tournaments on Full Tilt,
Yeah,
getting knocked out and going over to watch you over your shoulder, or help,
right.
oh, good move, or cheering each other on, like you said, and yeah, those are some great memories. It's kind of cool to go through those.
So the one last note that I have though for chapter 2,
Yeah.
going back to that beginner's luck, I wonder if I never won money or won anything that first night by
Mm.
you, if would have liked poker, if I would have thought, okay, this is cool. Well, let's say I just sucked. I mean, I did. I didn't know what I was doing.
But
Beginner's luck, very definition of it. I had
right.
no clue what I was doing. And
Right.
came away with money and thought, oh, this was neat. Let me try and keep playing this and learn about it.
Yeah.
I wonder if I had lost. I mean,
I wonder,
do you think I
maybe
ever would have cared enough to play again or
I
even look into what poker was?
I say yes. I feel like yeah, because I would have still invited you to come back. But that's true. Like if you're the first one out and you got to sit and watch us play, it's probably not the same as
I
being
mean,
in it, winning.
because yeah, if you had invited me again, then I probably would have because I was just wanting to hang out with you. So I'm like, okay, he's having a poker night. I don't know what the f poker is, but I'll do it to hang out.
Yeah, yeah,
But if I had kept losing, like let's say I came over again and then just lost again, then
yeah,
I don't know. A part of me would think like, hey, because we're competitive, I just want to beat you and then
yeah,
say I'm done,
yeah, yeah,
or
totally.
or just say like, okay, I've lost 2 nights in a row. I have no idea what this game is. Don't know what I'm
Yeah,
doing. Why would I bother?
yeah. And if anyone outside of that is saying you're just wasting money, why can't we be doing this instead? That easily,
Yeah.
that's you know what? Yeah, I can't make it this time. Sorry, man. We'll have to. Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. So funny how things work out.
yeah. No, that's a
Don't
trip.
work.
Yeah, or don't work out. You'll have to read the book to find out.
You're gonna find out.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, that's
I
great.
think that kind of wraps up chapter 2.
All right, thanks for checking this one out.
Thanks, everyone.